Howdy folks, Shell Presto here, and might I add, woof! I am hot off the tail of Sketchbook Summer 2018, a challenge to fill a 108-page sketchbook, both sides, in July. The whole experience had some benefits and learning experiences. I could even call it fulfilling, but it's not what I'd call fun. So, join me on this tour of my sketchbook, and we'll discuss the pros and cons of this challenge. As a warning, this is a quantity over quality challenge. While my normal sketchbooks are peppered with pages that look like this, or this, I had to keep moving to get 7 pages filled a day, so I didn't break out a pen once, and I think I only used color on 1 or 2 days. Firstly, you may notice I didn't fill a single sketchbook. I divided my drawings between 3. We'll go from quickest, loosest, most unimpressive sketches to the book with the most structured ones, just so you have something to look forward to as the video rolls on. So these drawings you're seeing now from the first sketchbook are either exactly what I saw in restaurants or through the car window at gas stations, or fast, loose gesture drawings of Jackie Chan from the Street Fighter scene in City Hunter. Look that one up if you haven't seen it. You may be asking, but presto, isn't the challenge to fill a single sketchbook? Well, technically, it was to fill 108 pages, or 216 total, because you had to fill both sides. There were 2 reasons for the decision to split up my sketchbooks. 1, I often dislike sketching on sketch paper. A lot of times I'll work on thin paper and sketch something I really like, then lament the fact that the paper won't hold marker or watercolor, and that no matter what I do, you're seeing what's on the back side of the page through the front. I almost always sketch on mixed media paper, just in case. But I knew for this challenge I'd have to do a lot of fast throwaway drawings to fill space so I'd make the cut. That's part of filling 7 pages a day, when in a normal drawing day, I might work 4 hours on a single page. So I wanted to use sketch paper when I knew I wouldn't be making anything worth polishing, and mixed media paper when I thought there was a chance something could look awesome. Secondly, I thought I'd only succeed in this drawing challenge by carrying a sketchbook with me at all times. And to do that, I needed a book that would fit into my son's snack bag backpack that I carry on my shoulder everywhere we go. So while the challenge required an 8 by 10 inch sketchbook, I used one 8.5 by 5.5 sketchbook, and to make up for that, I also used an 11 by 14 inch mixed media book and a 9 by 12 inch sketchbook, because I wanted to fill the same amount of area. In the end, I ended up filling 30% more page area than the challenge required, and, well, I sort of kicked myself when I figured out how much more work I did. So here's the math. If 216 8 by 10 pages is 17,280 square inches of drawing, I did 68 11 by 14 pages, 120 9 by 12 pages, and 27 8.5 by 5.5 pages, for a total of 220 pages and 24,694 square inches of page filled. Whoa, did I overshoot? That's close to 25,000 when 17,000 was required. But it turns out I was still more productive drawing at home or at my mom's house, places where I could bring a full-size tablet. Hindsight is a harsh mistress, folks. Anyway, the challenge started off fun enough. I just sat down and drew the first 2 days, trying to be looser and faster than normal, and often just stopping at the figure study stage instead of making the figures look like definitive characters. You'll see that at the beginning of the 11 by 14 book. However, that went downhill quickly. I don't think I was even 4 days in when I realized that I was only filling 4 or 5 pages a day, and it was taking way too long. Dishes weren't getting done, laundry was piling up more than usual. It just wasn't working. That's when I flipped on the TV and started drawing Jackie Chan in the loosest, fastest manner possible. Brandon Dayton, the co-creator of the Sketchbook Summer Challenge, said it was hard to get through the challenge without loose gesture drawing. And while it felt cheap, it was still practice, which was the point, so I was on my way. I used to pause the TV and draw anime all the time. I mean, all the time when I was a kid. At the time, it really helped me get to the point where I could draw from imagination instead of just copying pictures, because repetition helps lock the structure of the body and faces and how fabric moves into your mind. Well, the TV was going to help me with this challenge too. I started using the 9x12 sketchbook exclusively for the TV, and once I committed to that, I could A, start devoting a bit more time to look at details instead of just creating the laziest gesture drawings ever, and B, pound out enough pages quickly in a day that I could sit down and be more structured and patient with my studies in the 11x14 sketchbook. I decided I didn't want to focus on just gestures with the TV. I mean, I can always use practice drawing people, absolutely. But I'd like to do more polished looking group shots, backgrounds, and full scenes in my normal artwork. So I picked fantastic movies and focused hard on how the filmmakers laid out scenes. Compositionally, how did they place and shoot the actors when there was more than one on screen? How much background did they show? What was in the background? Were there things on tables? Was it clean? Everything. What gives life to a movie? When did they simplify what was on screen? Just a hand, just a shot of an object, just a foot or a reflection to tell the story. This was by far the most helpful part of this challenge. I drew pages and pages of Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, and Valerian, which is a much, much better movie than it got credit for, even if it wasn't as cool as the comic. And a tiny smattering of Ninja Turtles. I was amazed at how little detail there could be in certain shots. When Indiana Jones is in a cave, you can barely see his arms, let alone his feet. When Lex from Jurassic Park is stuck in the Jeep and the T-Rex is pushing the car into the mud, you just see her head and shoulders, and all the details of her back and butt and legs are lost in foreshortening and they're out of focus. It made me realize the downside of inking first, then coloring my art, because I try to lock down and define everything with hard lines when really those details could easily get lost. I had felt like I'd been doing years of too much work. Not to mention how much awesome backgrounds and foregrounds can obscure your midground characters. So my big takeaways, my personal pros from this experience, are that I learned maybe I should consider the whole composition before I jump in and start drawing a character, as I would usually worry about the light sources and background later. I want to focus a bit more on laying out good scenes as a whole, and even try adding color with paint or markers to work out lighting before I ink, which would be a whole different style of drawing for me. I hope that in coming months I improve for it. The other pro is that I drew every day for all but one day when I was away from home all day. They say that doing something every day for 30 days makes it a habit, and I'd like to continue it. I really do believe that's how the greats get great, or at least that's how you actually manage to get a project done. So now the downsides of this challenge. Obviously, this challenge puts quantity over quality. You can technically complete the challenge doing 2 huge, fast gesture drawings with a fat marker on every page, or draw a circle or scribble on every page. I didn't go there, but the temptation was great when I'd fall behind. I know Jammin' Gestures, who I know from Instagram, didn't complete the challenge because he didn't want to give in to doing nothing but line of action studies for the final pages. Which in a way is sad, because he did a lot of drawings otherwise. He does some pretty awesome spray paint art if you check out his Instagram, by the way. But you really have to suck it up and accept that most of your drawings will not be pretty for this challenge. I'm slow with art. I can take 8 or 16 hours on a polished piece. So forcing myself to speed up for a month was probably not the worst thing I could do. There were optional prompts, but I did better just figure drawing from stock photos, drawing from movies that I liked, or drawing whatever happened to be in front of me. But I certainly didn't draw what I normally would, thinking about it, planning a composition. Knowing what character I was drawing. None of that. That rots. And even more painful was doing a figure drawing, looking at it and thinking, yeah, that would be an awesome Atomic Ranger or Corona or Ozma, and then just turning the page. Because you don't have time to add those details or ink that drawing. I got Arteza brush pens in the middle of this challenge, and I only let myself try them one day because I knew I didn't have time to play with them. And that was horrible because I love playing with new art supplies as soon as I get them. Also, there's an ugly, ugly painting of a key in a door in the 11 by 14 sketchbook, and I sat there adding more color, trying to save this study. I thought, I could make this look decent if I got out my colored pencils. Nope. No. It's ugly. Leave it. That hurt. That one's getting torn out of this book after the video is filmed. I wanted to tear it out the day I made it, but I needed it for the page count. You can't throw out 30 or 40 minutes of drawing in this challenge, no matter how much it hurts the viewer's eyes. I filmed this video exactly as the books appeared July 31st when I finished the challenge. But you can bet I'm going back into that 11 by 14 book and coloring, inking, and finishing some of those drawings. Usually I tried to fill the entire page with 3 or 4 figures, objects, etc. on a page. But you'll see there are pages with a single more polished figure. Those are the ones that oozed with potential for me. Those deserve a background and some color. Those will be finished drawings, and maybe I'll do another flip-through video to show what comes of those later. One thing I thought I'd be able to do more of, especially when looking at challenge co-creator Brandon Dayton's Sketchbook Summer video from 2017, is work on new character designs. I often put too much thought into character designs and end up getting attached to the first few things I come up with. This isn't a good thing because you get the best designs by coming up with a lot of them and picking and choosing and then combining the elements you like best from each one. It often takes me a week to come up with 5 designs when I should probably be doing 10 or 15 less polished ones. Although, as a side note, a former Marvel art director did tell me he thought I did some pretty great character designs. Some better than a few of his. But that's another video. Anyway, doing character designs for Sketchbook Summer didn't work out. I'd feel so much pressure about getting my 7 pages done that instead of loosening up and throwing anything on the page, I'd get mentally blocked up and couldn't think of things fast enough to get on the page. That was an abysmal failure. Also, if you haven't noticed already, I'm only crediting stuff I referenced from movies verbatim, and I'm only crediting it the first time it appears. So when I take a break from it and say, draw something else, like if I stop drawing Jurassic Park and switch to Indiana Jones and then come back to Jurassic Park, I'm not crediting it the second time. I also am not crediting things that came from my imagination. Like if I do a fan art piece and the composition is original, I'm not going to reference that just to make my life easier on this video. I'm going to save the should you try Sketchbook Summer portion of my speech, the recommendation or lack thereof, until the end of this video. If you're the impatient type, that's somewhere around the 30-minute mark. I'll be more specific in the description because, well, I end up editing after I make these voiceovers. So, until my loverly voice makes its comeback, you can enjoy a few kickin' tunes by roll music. So, should you try Sketchbook Summer the next time it comes around? It depends. If you want to focus hard on one aspect of your drawing and commit an intensive month-long period to doing a lot of fast, loose studies to try to improve that skill, Sketchbook Summer may be for you. If you don't draw daily but want to force yourself to get into the habit, Sketchbook Summer may put that pressure on you and help you create a daily ritual. Believe me, sitting down to draw August 1st and getting to draw whatever you want and take as much time on it feels amazing after grinding out drawings like a human printing press for a month. The habit feels better now. If you think you draw too slowly in general and want to see what it looks like if you force yourself to speed up to a remarkably uncomfortable pace, give it a try. If you think it takes you too long to finish anything and you fall into the "this isn't good enough, I should start over" rut, Sketchbook Summer may teach you to flip the page and live with what's done. It's also a challenge that, though intense, is relatively easy to complete. If you want to feel like you can complete something, anything, it's a good challenge to do. On the other hand, if you're a hobbyist and okay with your art output, or think forcing yourself to draw or intensive study would kill the joy for you, I'd skip Sketchbook Summer. There'd be no point in it for you, which is fine. It's wonderful to just draw when you want to and what you want to, and it's 100% okay to be perfectly happy with how your art is right now, even if you're a professional or want to be a pro. But really, I think too many people don't draw because they feel pressure to make work of it or improve instead of drawing as recreation, which is a real shame. It's great to draw just because you like the act of drawing. Likewise, if you're an artist who already draws every day, even if you draw slow, I don't think Sketchbook Summer is necessary. You've already got an awesome groove going on. I don't know that it's worth putting pressure on a system that already works for you, because that pressure could break it, you know? At the end of the day, I did this challenge because I just haven't been drawing as much since I had my son. That's expected, of course. Throughout the duration of the challenge, when the laundry piled up or I didn't manage to make dinner for my husband and I, well, Victor still came first. You can't shirk that. The days I didn't get 7 pages done, the days I had to scramble to make up for missing pages, those were the days Vic needed more attention, and that's how it had to be. And when you first have a kid, there isn't time for anything else. I think it would be a stretch to say I got a whole 2 weeks worth of drawing done in the first 9 months after I had Victor. And I think that's any artist's worst fear when they have a kid, that they will be the end of their art. I used to run a convention for folks who like comic books, board games, and video games, and cosplay, called New Year's PartyCon. One of our guests was Brad Geiger, creator of the excellent Evil Inc. webcomic. He's a really friendly, helpful guy in addition to being a great artist and witty writer. We were talking and I mentioned that I was expecting a baby. He warned me that everyone and their mother was going to tell me that that would be the end of our Ascension Epoch books. That when his first son was on his way, everyone told him that would be the end of Evil Inc. or Greystone Inn, whichever he was doing at the time. Everyone told him that babies usurp and destroy all hobbies forever. And he assured me that that is malarkey. He told me that, yeah, you have less time with a kid. And he said things go by the wayside, but that you have control over what goes by the wayside. He said it could be your art, if you don't care about your art, but that if you do care, you'll find a way to keep it. You'll give up TV or video games. You'll sleep less each night for a while. You'll bring your sketchbook to dinner. He said he learned to draw with only one arm free while balancing his sleeping son on his shoulder. And he kept going, and now he makes and teaches comics for a living. So when my son turned 6 months adjusted, that's 9 months because he came 3 months early, I started trying to draw a bit more. I couldn't do full polished pieces, but I could devote 10 or 15, or if I wasn't too tired, 30 minutes to drawing after I set him down to bed for the night. Even a 2-minute gesture drawing counted. I did Sketchbook Summer to prove to myself that I could get something done if I really, really tried, even with a kid. I wanted to start a daily drawing habit, even if it has to go on another 6-month hiatus if I ever have another kid. I hate the quantity over quality aspect of this challenge, but sometimes you have to commit to doing something just to do it. Sometimes the act is more important than the finished product, the journey better than the destination. That's why I did Sketchbook Summer. It ain't pretty, but it's done. And I was super burnt by the time I drew that final hand turkey. I definitely wanted a break. But I drew the next day anyway, and the day after that. Not for as long, but still sitting down and drawing. And I'm about to draw today. I don't think I'll do it again in the future, so long as I've got a good output going, but for jump-starting a habit, even if you fail, Sketchbook Summer can be good to try, and yeah, I'd say Sketchbook Summer was pretty good for me. How's about you folks? Did any of you try Sketchbook Summer? What did you think of it? Did you finish all 108 double-sided pages? Did you get out of it what you thought you would? Will you try it next year? Is it some year in the future and you're watching this video and doing the challenge? Because if so, good for you, and keep on trucking. Let me know how you're doing with it. If you liked this video, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to see my more impressive art that was accomplished at a reasonable turtle-like speed, or any other challenge videos I may do. And I'd love if you left a comment. You can recommend future challenges to me, but not that 600-page sketchbook in a month one that Bailey J and some other YouTubers did. Kudos to them, but I can comfortably guarantee that I will not be joining those ranks. 216 was more than enough for this art jockey. So, since this is like a how I spent my summer vacation video, how's about I share the non-artistic aspects of my summer with you? We just stayed in good old Pennsylvania this summer. We scoped out Pioneer Tunnel in Ashland. It's an anthracite coal mine tour. It's fascinating and, quite frankly, creepy. Not just with how dark and claustrophobic it is, but knowing how dangerous it was for the mine workers in the early 1900s. I ain't gonna lie, I got a book on the subject at the souvenir shop, and reading about some of the accidents turned my stomach and broke my heart. But it's the history of this area, and that makes it important, you know? Then, of course, we visited our favorite amusement park, Knoebels. It's great because you only pay for the rides you want to go on, which means we spent most of our money on corn fritters and ice cream. This photo is actually from 2 summers ago, but you get the point. And finally, having a son brought new joy to the outdoors. He makes playing in the yard fun again. Summer's winding down, but there's still some time to enjoy it. Even if you just end up packing your art supplies and sketching something in your backyard or at the park or just looking out the window. I hope you all have a wonderful summer no matter how you end up spending it. Presto, over and out.